Hello and welcome. My name is Brejé Williams, and I'm here to bring you this week's Bay State Banner Weekend Review. Let's get started with the reimagining of Carney Hospital, bringing a broader approach to community health. The future of the shuttered Carney Hospital in Dorchester isn't just about reopening a medical facility. It's about addressing the health disparities in the community. Originally expected to finalize its recommendations by now, the task force has extended its timeline, shifting its focus beyond emergency care to the broader social determinants of health. Their vision? A campus that integrates medical services with senior programs, workforce development, and other community support systems. Carney's closure in August, following the bankruptcy of Steward Healthcare, left Dorchester residents without critical services and forced many to travel farther for care. Valerie Burton, a longtime Carney employee and resident, says the loss has hit the community hard. Mayor Wu and the Boston Public Health Commission recently released a report highlighting a stark reality: the life expectancy gap between Boston's white neighborhoods and communities of color remaining a major concern. The task force's recommendations, expected in March, will aim to address both immediate health care needs and systemic inequities. For Dorchester residents, the message is clear. Healthcare access is not just a service, it's a necessity, and time is of the essence. In our next segment, we have more advertising transitioning into new leadership and driving their mission for social change. A major transition is happening at More Advertising, one of the first minority and women-owned agencies in the Northeast. The Watertown-based firm, known for its purpose-driven campaigns, has announced an internal sale for 2 senior leaders, marking a new chapter for the agency. Founded in 1997 as Cause Media, Inc., and later rebranded as More Advertising in 2012, the agency has made a name for itself with social impact campaigns tackling everything from substance abuse stigma to public health advocacy. One of their biggest projects, leading the Commonwealth of Massachusetts COVID-19 vaccine campaign, a statewide effort to encourage vaccinations. Now, after years of shaping the agency's mission, CEO Donna Latson-Gittins and managing partner Judy Haber are stepping back, but they're leaving the agency in trusted hands. Their successors being Megan Palame, the new CEO, and Beth LePage, now COO and CFO, 2 women who have 25 years of combined experience at More. Their drive and mission have been on the rise, granting them award-winning work, earning Platinum Video Awards, Marcom Awards, and Telly Awards, and even launching the nation's first multimedia campaign to educate communities about anti-abortion centers in 2024. And while Gittins and Haber may be stepping back, they're not disappearing. They'll remain involved in Moore's new 5-member board of directors, helping guide the next phase of growth. With a legacy of advocacy and impact, More Advertising isn't just changing hands, it's gearing up for its next big move.
Check, 1, 2. The show goes on every night. Did you book your trip yet? Boston never gets old.
The Boston restaurant scene right now is as exciting as it has ever been. There's spicy, dynamic, diverse food here. It's time for people to take a second look at Boston. Boston never gets old. Yeah!
Our next story is about resilient coders expanding during this tech shift. Boston's resilient coders have been on a roller coaster over the past 2 years. Since Ayanna Lott Pollard took over as executive director in 2022, the coding nonprofit has navigated major shifts in the tech industry, from rapid hiring pushes post-George Floyd to corporate DEI pullbacks and widespread layoffs. Despite the challenges, Resilient Coders continues to provide young adults from low-income communities with the skills and connections to launch careers in software engineering. The program has grown, now boasting 590 alumni, a remote staff of 9, and an expansion beyond Boston and Philadelphia. A major boost of $2.5 million was donated from McKinsey Scott's Yield Giving Fund. This funding has allowed the organization to expand its curriculum, moving beyond boot camp-style training into AI, advanced coding, and entrepreneurship, helping graduates stay competitive in an evolving job market. Now the nonprofit is headed to Maine, partnering with Maine Entrepreneur Resource Corp and securing state funding to train new students in software development. Looking ahead, job placements remains the top priority for 2025. With corporate hiring slowdowns and shifting tech landscape, Resilient Coders is working to connect skilled graduates with companies that value innovation and fresh talent. And our next story, we're talking about Trump's executive orders targeting DEI programs. Within hours of returning to the White House, President Donald Trump focused on breaking down diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, a target he frequently criticized on the campaign trail. In a series of executive orders, Trump ended federal diversity programs and rolled back decades-old policies, including initiatives from Bill Clinton's and Lyndon Johnson's administration that focused on environmental justice and non-discriminatory hiring practices. Boston area DEI consultant Margaret Fletcher calls the move disturbing, seeing it as a step backward in progress made for diversity efforts. Meanwhile, Sophia Hall of Lawyers for Civil Rights says this shift is not surprising, pointing to a broader rollback of affirmative action in DEI initiatives since the Supreme Court's 2023 decision to end race-conscious admissions. Critics argue that this isn't just about policy, it's about sending a message. By aggressively targeting DEI, the administration is emboldening opponents of diversity initiatives and chilling support from companies and institutions. One key concern is the narrowing definition of DEI itself. Some fear that by framing diversity as only a black and white issue, the administration is ignoring the broader scope, impacting women, people with disabilities, LGBTQ+, individuals, and others who benefit from these policies. As the Trump administration floods the national conversation with sweeping executive orders, the future of DEI programs across the country hang in the balance. In our next story, we have Boston launching a groundbreaking fund to support families affected by the opioid overdose. Boston is taking a historic step in supporting families impacted by this opioid crisis. The city has launched a Family Overdose Support Fund, a first-of-its-kind initiative offering financial aid for funeral costs, mental health services, and child wellness support for those who have lost loved ones to the opioid overdoses. Announced on January 29th at the Nubian Square Task Force meeting, the fund will be backed by $250,000 from opioid company settlements, part of a $37 million payout coming to Boston through 2038. For families grieving a sudden loss, a little financial support can go a long way. The fund aims to break cycles of trauma and addiction. Eligible Boston residents can apply for up to $5,000 to cover funeral expenses, legal fees, therapy, and other support services. The money won't go directly to the applicants. Instead, it will be used to pay for requested services to ensure effective use of the funds. This initiative is managed by Boston Bullpen, a nonprofit known for stepping in where funding gaps exist, and applications will be handled through Halo Initiatives. In just its first week, the fund received over 15 inquiries, a clear sign of its urgent need. The fund is part of Boston's larger opioid response strategy, which includes expanding education, increasing access to treatment, and distributing naloxone, the life-saving drug that can reverse overdoses. This fund is a small but meaningful step towards supporting families in crisis. Getting into our next segment, we see the new Beyond Possible program expanding college pathways in computer science. For Boston students, the world of computer science and data analytics is full of possibilities, but access to those opportunities isn't always equal. That's where Beyond Possible comes in. This new 2-year program launching in August is a partnership between Boston Public Schools, Wentworth Institute of Technology, and the Possible Zone, all aimed at preparing high schoolers for college and careers in tech. Starting with 30 students across 4 Boston high schools, the program will offer college-level courses, hands-on experiences, job shadowing, and internships. Over the next 3 years, it's planned to serve 160 students, helping them build pathways to associate and 4-year degrees, or straight into careers. Diversity is at the core of this initiative. The tech industry has long struggled with representation. Black Americans make up just 7% of tech jobs, despite being 14% of the U.S. population. Programs like this aim to close that gap by supporting students of color, multilingual learners, and women in STEM. Beyond academics, wraparound support services will be a key part of keeping students engaged, offering hot meals, counseling, and even a stipend for participation. This program isn't just about helping students get degrees, it's about changing who gets to be in the room in one of today's most in-demand fields.
Check, check, 1, 2. The show goes on every night. Did you book your trip yet? Boston never gets old.
The Boston restaurant scene right now is as exciting as it has ever been. There's spicy, dynamic, diverse food here. It's time for people to take a second look at Boston. Boston never gets old. Yeah!
In our next segment, let's talk sports. The Philadelphia Eagles are back on top, dominating Super Bowl 59. With a 40-22 victory over the Kansas City Chiefs, the Eagles claimed their second Super Bowl title, snapping the Chiefs' quest for a historic three-peat. Quarterback Jalen Hurts made good on that 2023 promise to return and win, leading the Eagles with 221 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and a Super Bowl record 72 rushing yards for a quarterback. The Eagles' defense overwhelmed Patrick Mahomes, sacking him 6 times and forcing 2 key interceptions, including a pick 6 by rookie Cooper DeJean, who, by the way, pulled off that feat on his 22nd birthday. By halftime, the Eagles were up 24-0, holding Kansas City to just 23 total yards and 1 first down in the first half, an almost unheard of defensive performance. The Chiefs tried to rally late with Mahomes throwing 3 touchdowns, but the Eagles had already put the game out of reach, with big plays from A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and kicker Jake Elliott sealing the deal. Saquon Barkley, who also celebrated his birthday, capped off an NFL record season with 2,500 combined rushing yards and 57 yards on the ground in the Super Bowl. The Philadelphia Eagles' resounding victory over the 2-time defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs will undoubtedly be a pivotal moment in NFL history, sparking numerous discussions and analyses. The Chiefs were attempting to become the first team in Super Bowl era to win 3 straight Vince Lombardi trophies. In 1975 and 1979, the Pittsburgh Steelers were back-to-back Super Bowl champions twice. Their dream of a three-peat was thwarted by the Oakland Raiders in 1976, losing them the AFC Championship game that year. The great San Francisco 49ers and Dallas Cowboys were repeat champions of the 80s and 90s. Hall of Fame quarterback John Elway led the Denver Broncos to back-to-back Super Bowl titles in 1998 and 99. And our own Tom Brady and the New England Patriots won back-to-back Super Bowl titles in 2003 and 2004. It took 20 years for the Kansas City Chiefs to reach repeat champion status, winning the Lombardi Trophy. In the last 2, they emerged victorious over the Philadelphia Eagles and San Francisco 49ers, overcoming double-digit deficits to win by 3-point margins. The burden of history weighed heavily on the Chiefs coming into the Super Bowl against the Eagles. The Eagles were thirsting for revenge following their Super Bowl defeat to Kansas City in Super Bowl 57 and a collapse down the stretch of last season. The defensive line work was so good that the Eagles' defense unit didn't even have to blitz one time all game. In the final analysis, the burden of the history of being the first NFL team to win 3 straight Super Bowl titles was a heavy one for the Kansas City Chiefs. Next up, we have the indigenous tradition meeting AI in a new MIT art exhibit. What happens when machine learning and indigenous tradition come together? That's the question at the heart of the LIST Project 31, Kite, a groundbreaking exhibit by Oglala Lakota artist Kite, now on display at the MIT LIST Visual Arts Center. Through 7 immersive works, Kite explores Lakota ontology and epistemology, essentially the way knowledge is understood and passed down, using a mix of AI, machine learning, music, video, and performance. At the center of the show is a dreamlike star, an installation that brings Lakota dream representation to life. Picture this, a projection of a vast purple night sky filled with stars, with stones arranged on the floor reflecting the artist's own dreams. It's part nature, part intergalactic, fully immersive. But the tech integration doesn't stop there. In several pieces, Kite weaves digital sensors into strands of braided hair, allowing movement and touch to control sound, video, and AI-generated text, a powerful fusion of ancestral tradition and modern technology. Rather than resisting AI's growing presence in creative spaces, Kite leans in with intention, applying the Lakota philosophy of the good way, a principle that makes ethical decisions based on how they'll impact future generations. Collaboration is also key to this exhibit. Kite works alongside both nature and technology, as well as fellow indigenous artists like Lakota musician Santi Witt and Muskogee artist and choreographer Olivia Camfield. And for those looking for a live experience, Kite will activate the exhibit with a solo performance on April 17th, blending music, movement, and AI in real time. LIST Project's 31 Kite is on view at MIT's Last Visual Arts Center through May 18th, and it's free to the public. All right, that's a wrap for this week's Bay State Banner Weekend Review. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Brejé Williams, and I'll see you guys next time.